I'm really excited. We are going to touch on three topics. First, we're going to get an overview of what even is mindfulness. Then, we're going to get into the nitty gritty. I'm going to talk to you, and Grant Lee is going to talk to you about how the LSAT exam can be conquered with a little bit of mindfulness, how mindfulness can improve your memory, it can improve your motivation, your focus, it can make you a little sharper, and it can help you stay calm under pressure and really kill the questions when it's game time. And then we're going to talk to you about how you actually go about incorporating mindfulness in your day, not just for the LSAT, but as a continual practice to allow you to achieve the academic success that I know that you can. So let's just go ahead and get started. For those of you who are new, my name is Sydney Montgomery. I'm the owner and founder of Montgomery Admissions Consulting, where I provide personalized college counseling and law school admissions consulting. Growing up in a military and Jamaican family, education was so important. And as the first lawyer in my family and a graduate of Princeton and Harvard Law School, I am passionate about helping students break down generational barriers, believe in themselves, and step confidently into their future. I am beyond thrilled that today I get to have a conversation with Neely. Neely is the founder of Granite, an education center and education technology company whose primary goal is to integrate mindfulness education into canonical academic disciplines. Grantley is a certified Koru mindfulness instructor, and he has taught mindfulness classes for stress reduction and academic performance at his home base, Granite, and also at Vanderbilt and Dartmouth College. When not working with students, Grantley plays in a couple of Nashville area tennis leagues. He loves cooking Indian food, charcoal drawing, and playing guitar. I am so thrilled to have Grantley here. So Grantley, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Sydney. This is exciting. I can't wait to chat with you guys.
Yeah, so I just first want to know, like, how did you get into mindfulness? And also, probably for those listening, what is mindfulness?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I think I kind of got into mindfulness, or even heard about it because I, like so many people, didn't really have any idea what it was. But I first learned about it in my freshman year at Dartmouth College, and I was accidentally dropped into a public speaking class where the whole class was all seniors and the registrar had made an error and had accidentally put freshman Grantley into a class with all seniors. Um, but so I was kind of the the little
The
kid in the
young
room.
person.
I was the youth. I was the youth in the room. And one of the wise seniors, her name was Olivia, and if she happens to stumble across this video, thank you, Olivia. She gave an amazing, persuasive speech on why we should all take up a mindfulness practice. And she is and was at the time a very knowledgeable mindfulness or had a very rich mindfulness practice. We'd say a very knowledgeable person in the mindfulness space generally. She would spend all of her summers at a Buddhist monastery in I guess actually kind of in Northern California, if I remember that correctly. Again, Olivia, if I got the story wrong, I apologize. Leave a comment. We'll correct it. But anyway, she had spent a lot of time doing meditation, right? And so she told us basically all of these health benefits, stress reduction benefits, cognition benefits of mindfulness. And her speech was so persuasive that I immediately decided to try out mindfulness. And she gave us just a very simple, in her speech, a little meditation that we could do on our own, a little simple breathing meditation. And I started trying it out. And as many people experienced with mindfulness the first time they tried, it seemed good, but kind of like, no, okay, yeah, that kind of does something, I guess. Sure. Um, and then probably for about a year of just kind of experimenting with it and being like, yeah, that seems fine. That's like probably a good thing to do. Sure. It was kind of slowly connecting with me, but not in any kind of earth shattering way. But then as school progressed, as I got older and older in school, and classes got harder and school got more stressful, all of a sudden, it started to make more and more sense how mindfulness might fit into specifically the context of academics and the context of, a tool for academic stress reduction and all of those things. Um, and then slowly kind of developed um, my own more thorough mindfulness practice, started reading any books I could find on it. And I joined our student mindfulness club and then eventually took on some leadership and became the president of that club. And then eventually by senior year of undergrad, I was, working with the administration and we were looking at mindfulness as an intervention specifically for academic stress reduction and how maybe through that academic stress reduction we could work together to reduce some kind of unhealthy behaviors on campus and all the sort of unhealthy things that pop out of excessive academic stress. So we were looking at that as right some kind of intervention, some sort of way of mediating that effect. And I was so excited by all that that after graduation I decided, you know I think that I might just go ahead and try and start a mindfulness based education center. And I also really love technology. And I kind of, I'm a, well, I guess not a hobby software, creator anymore because we do have software products. But at the time I was a hobby software developer. And so um, started planning out some apps and stuff as well. So that's kind of the basic overview, I guess, of how it all got started.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I wanted to touch on a few points. I love that you said it really helped you with academic stress reduction, but also I really love that you admit that the first few times you were doing it didn't really make an earth-shattering impact. So I know a lot of times I try to tell my students who are stressed mostly about the LSAT exam. Have you tried Calm? Have you tried Headspace? Have you tried Insight Timer? Those kind of apps, those meditation apps. And I think, honestly, I'll be real with myself. I am always like, oh, I should meditate every day. But then I don't. Alexa reminds me repeatedly because I set a daily reminder that I realize that in about 30 seconds, Alexa is actually going to tell me to meditate. So I'm trying to
We
preempt
were
it.
gonna have a real cameo meditation advice.
Right. um, Alexa reminds me every day at noon that it's time to meditate. She just opens the Headspace app, and I usually close it because I'm busy. So the question that I really have is, if a student is thinking about mindfulness, is it just meditation? Like, is that what they mean when they say mindfulness? Are they synonymous? Is there more to mindfulness than just doing Headspace or Calm or Insight Timer?
Yeah, that is a phenomenal question. Um, and so I think there is some debate as to how broad of a term, how broadly we want to use mindfulness. And I've heard lots of expert researchers speak to this. And so I'll say first, meditation as that term, it comes from basically this really, really long, you know, historic tradition, in Buddhism of kind of exploring the mind, right? And then mindfulness, I think, is something that we use more broadly here in our Western society, contemporary, to describe a practice that could involve meditation, but also could involve some other stress reduction approaches. It could, have, you could be integrating some yoga in. There's mindful walking, mindful eating, all things that have historically sort of also integrated within a meditation practice. But I think mindfulness is used slightly more broadly, and it often has a secular connotation, right? Sometimes people get uncomfortable with the term meditation because it feels like there may be some kind of religious element that maybe they're not comfortable with, or maybe they're another religion and they don't necessarily want to engage with that. I'll speak more to that in a second. But I think mindfulness has a very kind of broadly secular implication, and an implication that includes more than necessarily a seated meditation practice. Now, what I will say, because a lot of people, I hear this all the time, they say, well, for me, mindfulness is going on a walk and relaxing. And I think that's true. I think that's great. I am all for going on a walk and relaxing. And I think that is an incredibly valuable part of your mindfulness practice. However, I think it is super, super important as well, if you want to explore mindfulness, to remember the value of a seated meditation practice as well. There are certain things that, again, this is, well researched. The science is really, this is not kind of up hand waving up for debate. The science is pretty clear that certain types of seated meditation practices, seated mindful meditation practices, have really, really, really incredible benefits for cognition, pain management, anxiety, depression, all these host of things that can really kind of uh, cause some real frustration in an academic context. So I hope that kind of that dichotomy, I think the big takeaway is, yes, mindfulness as a broad term is great, but that is not to diminish the significance and the value of having some sort of very organized seated practice.
No, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. And you touched a little bit on the religious aspect. I have a podcast, Mindful Prayers for Students, in which it is coming from a Judeo-Christian faith. I'm Christian. The prayers are Christian, but I also mentioned very explicitly in the podcast that, whether you are coming from that tradition or you just like mindfulness, kind of the prayers and the spirit of the podcast can be calming no matter what religion you are. And I have students that listen to the podcast who are atheists, who are Hindu, who are like a whole host of things. So can you talk a little bit about the interplay of people's perceptions of meditation and religion a little bit?
Yeah. Certainly, certainly, certainly. So I think, sorry, I'm pausing here. This is a more challenging question than I expected.
Sorry, I
Oh,
didn't expect
no,
it.
that's good. Um,
Just threw it at you.
yeah. No, this is good. This is not what I usually hit in my marketing rounds. I like it. Yeah. So I think that's a great question. So what I think is interesting, about mindfulness within the context of religion is the degree to which you can kind of draw some value framework from the practice, and the degree to which it can also independently, right, of Buddhism or independently of any of these, religion that it exists in. I've heard so many students who believe that and find that it can fortify and augment their own religious practice internally, right? Because if you are going through and practicing an exercise that is training awareness, it's training appreciation, it's training focus, all of these great things, it is going to allow you to engage more intimately with your own faith, right? That you know, it will empower you in that way. Now, again, I think you said it's amazing. Your channel has all sorts of different people of different faiths watching the mindfulness based prayers. Um, and I think, again, if you know start engaging with this practice, exploring this practice, I think you will find that it will, no matter what your kind of faith background is, or even lack of faith, I think it will give you a sort of richness. It takes a little bit of time, right? You won't, one meditation will probably not help you discover this richness, but I think with a little bit of time, it will help you discover sort of richness that you might find very powerful within any of that kind of faith-based framework.
I love that. I think that's really good advice, and I think that's so true. Now, you said one meditation probably will not help you discover this richness. Not that I want to put a prescriptive number on it, but future lawyers, they do tend to like things laid out. So if you were advising someone who was saying, okay, yes, I want to start a mindfulness practice, what does that look like? Does it need to be 30 minutes every day, 3 times a week, 10 minutes, 5 minutes? How often, how much? If you were just, you're busy, you're trying to juggle a lot of things, you're working, you're studying, what is the kind of minimum that you can enter into on a regular basis perhaps to start to feel some of these benefits of mindfulness, and how long, would you say you would start to feel these benefits?
Yeah. I love that question. And I actually do. I like being rather prescriptive with this. I often tell students this. I have a specific number that I give people. So I'm excited. Our future, all our future lawyers will, I hope you appreciate this very, very definitive answer. Because I think it's valuable, right? We live in a definitive age. We want answers. We don't, if I said, hey, do mindfulness, it will do nothing for you and it will never
Exactly.
have anything, you would have no reason to be listening to anything I'm saying. But it will, right? It takes time, as with any exercise, right? If you want to go to the gym and get more fit, it will take time. One trip to the gym won't do it. But here's what I saw. This is from my personal experience. It's anecdotal. I think there is some research to back it up, and we'll speak to the research in a second. But from my own experience, what I did, it's kind of broadly said, if you practice 10 minutes a day, that's a good place to get started. Doesn't need to be more than that. Doesn't, people are always saying, I do 30 minutes, I do 40 minutes. 10 minutes a day, it's a great place to get started.
The every day.
And then, yeah, every day would be ideal. So if you do 10 minutes a day, every day for 30 days, that's when, for me, I kind of finally got in a little bit of a rhythm where I did that 10 minutes a day, every day for 30 days. And at the end of the 30 days, I was like, ooh, I'm feeling like a lot sharper. Like, man, I'm kind of a little quicker than I used to be. This is good. I'm feeling like I don't know. It was kind of like, wow, nice. This is working for me. And what I always tell people is if you make it through those first 30 days of practicing every day for 10 minutes and you see that kind of increase in sharpness, that increase in calmness, that kind of little boost in memory, all of that stuff. Once you hit that point, you'll be like, okay, yep. Sign me up. I'm good. This is clearly worth it. Let's go. But you have to get over that hurdle, right? Because the kind of, that I meditate, once every 10 days, you're not going to get to that point. Basically, you're not going to see, our brains respond to this practice based on the fact that our brains are we have neuroplasticity, right? Our brains can literally rewire themselves as we do this practice. But as with any kind of practice, as with learning anything, if I play guitar once a month, I'm never going to really learn how to play guitar very well. And I can say that from experience because I'm actually like pretty bad at guitar, and it's because I only play once a month. However, if you want to break through that, you need more frequency. Again, if you can't make it every single day, that's okay. Try every other day. But more than, once every month. And you're going to start seeing exactly that neuroplasticity kick in. The brain's going to start rewiring and you're going to feel, again, it's not going to be crazy, right? This is not some kind of like you're going to be a completely new human and never be the same again. That's not the idea. It's just going to be these really minor, subtle, pleasant adjustments. And you'll see that. And then you'll be probably about as convinced as I was. And then it becomes much easier to keep moving that way.
And you said it makes you sharper, it increases your memory. Can we talk about how we can apply this to test prep, right? Because so many students are studying for the LSAT exam. It's such a large determiner for many students about where they go to law school. And there's a lot of burnout, there's a lot of anxiety, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
burnout. And I feel like those two kind of feed on each other. And so, how, and I think you kind of sort of answered it already, but like, how can mindfulness specifically help with that test anxiety, that burnout, that feeling of I'm studying, nothing's working, my scores aren't going up, I'm taking practice test after practice test, I've paid for this tutor, I've paid for this test prep, and like, I'm like basically at the same place. How can we infuse mindfulness into that to break that pattern?
Yeah. So here's how I like to explain to students. And I think this is, incredibly useful for LSAT MCAT, GRE, any test you're taking, this kind of framework of thinking about it is going to be important. When you are preparing for a test, right, you are going to be learning test content. That is the content of the test. It's logic, reasoning problems, maybe math problems, maybe vocabulary, depends slightly on the test. But ultimately, it is going to be the static body of content and problem solving skills that you need for that assessment. That is the test content. But there's this whole other world in standardized tests, a world that here at Granite we like to refer to as the test taking intangibles. Those are things like your ability to stay calm when things are not going exactly on the test as you might like them to, your ability to stay focused when things are getting boring, your ability to stay enthusiastic and motivated when you are not feeling such. Those are really important as well. And when you prepare for any test, if you only focus on one of those, you're only focusing on 50% of the test, right? And if you said, I'm going to study for 50% of this test and my score is not going up, nobody would be surprised, right? Like just kind of canonically, if I went and said, yeah, I studied half the material on this test, I don't understand why I'm not getting a great score, you wouldn't be surprised. But I think if you think about this test as both of these are equal parts, and maybe for some people they're slightly more one way or the other, but they're both large parts of this test and we need to prepare for both of them. It will really kind of redefine the way you think of this. Another kind of metaphor I often like to use is a sports metaphor. So for anyone here who's an athlete, at kind of like an athletic enthusiast, an athlete, whatever, you might sort of appreciate this. But let's say you are an athlete and you're preparing for sport. We'll just pick on tennis here because, as we mentioned, I know a little bit about tennis. You would spend time, right, learning how to hit a tennis ball. You would get the hand-eye coordination to make contact with the ball, to get it in the court, all of that stuff, right, to hit good forehands, a good serve. And that's all great. However, if you have really bad cardio and you're very out of shape and and you get tired really easily and things like that, it will be hard to win a very long competitive tennis match, right? Because you're going to get too tired. And even though you have an amazing forehand or a great serve or great skills, you're going to get fatigued, burnt out, worn out, and not be able to win the match. This is the same thing here in an academic context, right? The mindfulness that we're using for test prep is essentially the cross training that we're using in sports. If you aren't doing these sort of, brain training exercises, these exercises to boost our test taking intangibles here, if you're not doing that, you are kind of leaving some of your cross training here out on the side. You're kind of not paying attention to it, and oftentimes that can be a really great kind of low hanging fruit, if you will, to kind of start working with. 10 minutes a day is probably a lot less time than you're spending with a lot of your, test content. And so if you kind of take advantage of that and say, okay, well, I'm probably going to be preparing for this test for 2 months, maybe even more. And if I
Some
just
people like
add
6 months, six
6 months,
months,
I've
nine
heard
months.
all sorts of durations. If you say, I'm going to be spending an hour a day doing this content, the kind of the content of the test, adding an extra 10 minutes a day in for something like mindfulness is going to be pretty trivial. It's not going to be a huge extra time ask. But I think what you're going to do then is you're going to see there's a whole half of this test that you are then going to be able to really, really, really bring to the next level.
I really love that. And I think I know I have students that could benefit from this mindfulness practice. Whether it's, we've talked a lot about the tests, but I believe it probably would help a lot for writer's block when we're talking about writing these essays and brainstorming and structuring. I feel like having the right mindset for all of that is crucially important. Is there ever an age that's too young to start a mindfulness practice? I know, or too old, right? So I work with students kind of all over. I do work with some 9th through 12th grade students, students that know that they want to go to law school. So I've got students as young as 13. And then I work with many second career students. Many of them are women or moms. So they could be in their 40s. So it doesn't matter these techniques, how old you are.
It does not. That is a really cool thing. It does not matter. And I will actually send you to anyone who's kind of a biological research nerd. I can show you some kind of neuroplasticity evidence specifically that this is valuable no matter how old you get. Um, but it's also very valuable no matter how young you are. I can say at our center, we have students as young as 4 and 5 learning mindfulness, all the way up to we've had students here likewise that are in their, in their 50s. Um, and the brain, basically, to kind of get to the science of it a little bit, we find that the brain has plasticity for far longer than we think. So no matter how old you are, there's this opportunity to do this retraining that we're talking about, right? Um, so that's kind of on that side. But on the other side, they have seen time and time again. We kind of see this anecdotally at our education center as well. But oftentimes, younger students are able to really connect with this practice incredibly well because one of the amazing things about a mindfulness practice is it's challenging, but it's almost challenging in the way that we are getting in our own ways. Oftentimes younger students don't get in their own way as much with this practice, and if they start learning it, it's honestly it's not really particularly different from learning foreign languages or learning to ride a bike, right? It seems really easy to learn foreign languages or learn to ride a bike when you're a little kid because you don't really get in your own way. You just do things. Mindfulness practices are the same way. So if you are a very young student and you happen to be watching this YouTube channel, or you are a parent of a very young student, I would say the younger you start with your child on developing a practice like this as a family, with your younger students, with your younger children, it'll probably be much easier for them down the road as well to kind of build on this practice and develop its richness as they get older and as they start using it. And again, I can actually say that again, anecdotally, I know that to be true as well. We have educators here at our center. One of our educators I was recently speaking with, and his mom um, was very excited about mindfulness practice and introduced it to him at a very, very young age. And he's sort of always had it in his life now. And he is now a stunningly great mindfulness based educator here at our center, and has just a really kind of organic, natural, rich practice just because it's always kind of been part of his life. Um, so yeah, hopefully that's
No,
kind of
that was
helpful.
that was perfect. So, okay, so this is what I'm taking. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm Christian and tomorrow is Ash Wednesday, although it'll be a very weird coronavirus Ash Wednesday. So I usually give up something for Lent. And I think instead I'm going to add a mindfulness practice. Lent is 40 days. So I'm going to challenge myself. And I'm saying it on YouTube. So I have many accountability partners.
That's great.
Um, I'm gonna try to do this right 10 minutes a day, the 40 days of Lent, and see where I end up. But so, for my students that are listening, they've taken so far that 10 minutes a day of a mindfulness practice now. And we said it could be meditation, it could be a meditative walk or a mindful eating, but that seated meditation or seated mindfulness practice is really great. What are the tools that they need, right? They're like, okay, great, I'm sitting down. What do I do? Should they get one of the apps? Do you have courses that walk students through this? Like, what are the ways that they can get involved now that they're sitting down for 10 minutes a day?
Yeah, yeah. That's a super great question. So, um, we like I said, we like to do software development here at Granite, and we do have a couple apps that are specifically geared at mindfulness for academic achievement. One of them is the course is itself titled Mindfulness for Academic Achievement.
Could not be
um,
clearer.
and what it could not be more clear. And what this sort of course is and how it's structured is it's basically a sequence of nice short seated meditations where I and my team will explain some of the science behind each of the seated practices, right? Different. It's interesting because different seated practices, research have shown, have different effects on our cognition, things like that, right? There's some that are more calming in nature, some that are more energizing in nature, some that are better for building focus, some that are better for helping us navigate anxiety. They have different ones, but this course will walk us through a host of exercises, talk about the science of each of these exercises, what we can kind of expect out of the exercises, and then it has me running a guided meditation with the student through it. So that's the kind of thing where if you were to sign up for a class like that, you could go ahead, learn about the meditation, and then just go ahead and play the guided meditation, sit back, take your 10 minutes, sit, guide through it, and there you go. It's pretty easy. And like I said, kind of a course like that will be nice because it'll expose you to a whole host of different seated practices. They're all research based seated practices. So you can feel pretty confident that these are going to be the kind of practices that will kind of elicit that boom, nice 30-day kind of, okay, I'm feeling sharper sort of effect. Um, and I think, I think obviously I'm slightly biased to my own personal tools that I've created, but I do think, there is one of the, one of the first resources I looked at was a book by the monk Thich Nhat Hanh, and it's called there's two books actually. I like Miracle of Mindfulness is one that he did, and Mindfulness in Every Step. That's another nice step-by-step guide. And that is going to be maybe, books or maybe, slightly less user-friendly than an app where I'm going to be walking you directly through it. But um, Thich Nhat Hanh is vastly more knowledgeable than mindfulness than me, and spent his entire life studying it. And so I think books like that are absolutely incredible too. And we can definitely put some of those in the links here in the video so that you can explore that or the courses or anything of that nature.
Absolutely. We'll link to the courses, we'll link to the books, we'll link to some of that science on neuroplasticity that you've mentioned. So the courses, they will be able to, it'll teach them how to do mindfulness, but they'll have all that they need to carry on for 30 days or more.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think the course is built to be about an 8-week course. A lot of mindfulness courses, a lot of research in mindfulness is done. The 30 days is sort of my own anecdotal experience, but a lot of mindfulness research is done with an 8-week progression. So many of the courses, we're always adding new meditations to them, but they're generally designed to be about an 8-week process. Now, if you want to condense it a little bit and say we're going to make this a 40-day thing or a 30-day thing, you can certainly do it a little quicker as well, and that would be okay.
Okay, great. And then after the courses, that's knowledge that stays with them. They don't need to like do a second course or where do they go kind of after there?
Yeah. So I think that's a super good question as well. That is, you know, I like to say that these courses are kind of living, breathing things because we're constantly adding new meditations to them. Adding new research that we've found. Our team here has found. So that's one thing. But I think the other thing is just, you know, maintaining that practice, right? If you do connect with it, um, and you do kind of find that this is a practice you like, and it's a practice that is, helping you achieve what you want to, it is. I think it's good to continue with that practice. And again, when you sign up for these courses, you'll have a long access to them. You'll get access for at least a year, if not more, depending on the course. Um, so I would say, even when you complete that course, by the end of completing that course, you will feel confident enough with all of these meditations that you're able to guide yourself through them. But you're still going to have access to that course in case you say, hey, that breathing meditation we learned, I want to look back and see what's going on with that and how to figure that out, or that body scan or that progressive muscle relaxation we learned. I want to know again how to do that. You can always look back to those in that context. Or again, if maybe you've done the online course, but you say, I love the online course, I would love to know what some other people are saying about this. Maybe go get the book, or maybe you bought some of the books first. Maybe then move to the course. There's so many amazing resources out here to explore. I'd say if you connect with any of them, just make it, kind of make it a fun game. Just there's always another resource to go out, explore, check out, and see what you can learn from it.
Awesome. This has been really informative for myself. It's challenged
Thank you. I'm
me.
so glad.
Yeah, it's challenged me. It's inspired me. Is there anything else that you want to share with the people that are listening? Anything that we didn't touch on or cover?
No, I think that is great. I like I said, just invite everybody to they can check out, our website. We'll leave a link below so you can see, we've got all of our research on there. You can check out all of our courses. We have courses for specific standardized tests, um, general mindfulness. We have even a course for people who want to become mindfulness certified educators. If people want to do that, I'd say go ahead and explore that. But I also want to invite everyone to, try out what you're doing and see, just give it a go. See what happens. See what happens if you say, 10 minutes a day, 30 days, just see what happens. And, you know, I think my hunch is that if you stick to it, you will see something striking. But I'd also like to challenge somebody. If you do stick to it, 30 days, 10 minutes a day, and nothing happens, also leave a comment. I want to see, there you go. Like if you have proven me wrong and it does nothing for you, that's great. I want to know about that as well. So whatever happens, take the challenge, and I'd love to hear from everybody here in the comments what's working for them, what's not, what if it did anything.
I
I
love
think it
that.
will
I
though.
I love that challenge. I think it will too, but I love that. I love that
Yep.
there's a
Yeah,
challenge.
I'm excited to hear from you, Sydney, how it goes. If it does nothing for you, that will be a real problem. But like I said, I feel so confident that it will do something that I'm willing to just go here on camera and say, like, please go do it and have it not work because I want to hear from you. I've never heard that happen before.
No, I think it will. Even the few times I don't do it regularly, but the few times that I actually do it, I usually feel calmer in my day. Grantley, how can people follow you on social media?
Yeah, so we are on all of the social media channels. We are on Facebook. You can go find us on Facebook at Granite Test Prep at Facebook. You can find us at Granite Test Prep on Instagram. You can find us at our YouTube channel as well. So it has quite a few um, meditations in our YouTube channel for free. So if you want to try out a few of them for free before you look at the actual courses, you can do that. And we also have all sorts of academic things, math reviews, things like that, in case you need a little refresher on how math works or how any of these kind of sort of complicated academic things work. We can do a little review on that in our YouTube channel. Um, and we're on LinkedIn too. If who doesn't like a little bit of LinkedIn, you can follow us on there as well.
Absolutely. I love it. I absolutely love that you are here with us today. Today, we really hit on three things. We got a really great overview of what mindfulness was. We talked about how mindfulness can help you beat and conquer the LSAT exam, improve your memory, improve your focus, improve your motivation, make you a little bit sharper with just 10 minutes a day of mindfulness practice. And we really dug into how to start your mindfulness practice, what the resources are that you can use, and how you can start incorporating this into your life. I have absolutely loved having Grantley with me today. If this video was helpful to you, you already know, make sure that you like this video and subscribe to my channel, where I put out new videos every week on law school admissions tips and tricks. And if you want guidance on the process, you watch this video and you are still kind of at the beginning or the middle of your stage, you're not really sure how to go about law school, maybe you're feeling a little overwhelmed by the process, reach out to me. I would love to guide you step by step on the entire application process. I'd love it if you joined one of my boot camps where you can have a cohort of amazing people so that you can do this journey not alone, that you can do it in community with others. Or I'd love to talk to you about one-on-one admissions consulting and how I can help you achieve your dreams and step confidently into your future. So thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time.
Thank you so much, Sydney. See you guys later.